What do you think is more important? Intensity of the activity or the consistency of the activity? Well, we're going to listen in on a conversation that Alex Hormozi was having, and we're going to get his input on it, and then I'm going to give you my input on it. Hi, everybody. It's James Becker, CEO and founder of Fusion Growth Partners, and this is another episode of Going For It with James B. You know, if you've been watching these, I've been talking a lot about going through the process, staying consistent. And I talk a lot about it because I just feel like it is so important. But I was listening to a podcast the other day where Alex Hormozi was having a conversation with Chris Williamson, and it was a 3-hour conversation, actually. And there was just a lot of great nuggets in it. But I wanted to share just a small section of it with you today because I thought it was really interesting and very profound. And we're going to just have a little fireside chat about this as I share this video with you. By the way, I will put the link in the notes so that you can go directly to the podcast if you'd like to listen to the whole thing. Okay, let's get this party started.
It's rarely the information or the intensity that makes things hard. It's the sticking with it that makes it hard.
Okay, so let's just repeat that real quick. It's rarely the information, meaning to learn what you're supposed to do, or the intensity of the activity. What he's saying is it's sticking to it, being consistent, that's hard.
And so the desire that we have to quit is simply breaking the consistency. And so that's why consistency has always been the hardest thing for most people to do.
The desire to quit is simply breaking the consistency. Man, that is so powerful because I see it all the time that people get something going, they get the process going, and because they're not getting immediate feedback, positive feedback, they quit. And if I could just share with you the amount of loss that I have seen from people quitting, giving in to that desire to quit because you want something immediate or you want that feedback to be immediate. It's just immense, and it's sad and tragic. And I bring this up because I really want you to understand that it is such an enormous thing, but it creeps in silently. It's something that is a siren. It seduces you, this feeling of quitting, where your mind justifies it into it not being a big thing. And the loss is amazing because conversely, I've seen on the other side of that, when people stick doing the things that we know will produce results over a period of time. They were, to give you context, we're talking about working out and doing the exercises and staying consistent with that, and what happens to your body and your mind when you're consistent with that. But I'm thinking more along the lines of being consistent with inputs with business. Let's get back to the conversation.
Achieve. But the intensity of what you have to do to be successful is much lower than most people expect. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes they suffer significantly more in a short period of time than is required to be successful over a much longer period of time with a much lower intensity. And so it's just like if you walk for 5 minutes a day, you're going to get, 50% of the health benefits, probably more than that, I'm sure, of just even exercising. You add 10 years to your life if you walked 5 or 10 minutes a day. And the path of personal development is befriending uncertainty.
Wow, that's another great one. The path of personal development is embracing uncertainty. It's the same thing with an entrepreneurial journey, that this development of building a business is to embrace the uncertainty of what's going to happen. And that's hard. It's really hard for people to do. And that is why there are so few people that are successful, because everybody wants a perfect guarantee. And there just isn't. So that gets into a lot of stuff about courage and the people that are in the arena marred by dust and blood and so forth. That's a bit from Theodore Roosevelt's speech of the man in the arena. But let's get back to the conversation here.
And so I obviously sit from the entrepreneurial perspective, but almost all decisions that you make in the beginning, you have incomplete data and you have to make decisions anyways. And so it's growing comfortable with taking your best bad guess and being directionally correct rather than searching for a perfect answer, because a perfect answer assumes perfect information, which you can only have after you begin.
Okay, there's so many nuggets here. It's just unbelievable. You have to be correct directionally, not perfectly. And we talk about this all the time at Fusion, where you really need to make decisions and you need to keep moving forward. But people get stuck at making decisions because they want perfect. And perfect does not exist. So you have to make decisions that are directionally correct, and to let go of that perfect, because you are only going to know if it was perfect or not in hindsight. And that's the uncertainty. And so the choice is to vacillate and do nothing, or to make a decision and move and get feedback. And ideally, if you're making decisions that are directionally correct, you're advancing, but probably not perfectly. And so many people have such a hard time making progress when it's not perfect, because they don't want to be criticized. And if one can just have the courage to move forward in the face of some criticisms and people picking on you who don't have courage, because it's easier to be on the sidelines and point out where the strong man or strong woman stumbles. That's much easier than actually being in the arena and doing hard things. And, a lot of you who are with Fusion, you are in the arena. And some of you then get out of the arena and you get back in the arena. And I guess part of what I'm trying to do here is I want you to stay in the arena and keep moving forward, keep making decisions that are directionally correct and being consistent in that process. Because what I have seen is the payoff over the long haul is massive. It's just massive. Okay, let's get back to the conversation.
And so in some ways, making a decision is the perfect answer so that you can get the information
Feedback
to then improve the quality of the decision later. And I think that one loop is what a lot of people miss out on, is they obsess for years sometimes on the perfect pick, the perfect business, the perfect job, the perfect mate, when most of the times beginning each step illuminates the next step, which means the information, the feedback that you get from walking gives you more about where to walk than trying to sit at the beginning in the darkness and pick a direction.
Well, it's the difference as well, I think, between people who are super advanced, super developed, super far down the line and people who are beginning. It's like, dude, what are you risking by trying to do this thing? For you, it's fine for you to spend 18 months negotiating with Sam on the school deal.
Yeah.
But if you are yet to do any business, that's probably not necessarily the right way to go about things. Tim Ferriss says, in the short term, your success depends on your intensity. In the long term, your success depends on your consistency. Do not sacrifice the latter for the former.
In the short term, your success depends on your intensity. In the long term, it depends on your consistency. I think that's a good place to stop this conversation. Really recommend that you listen to this. It's a great podcast. Hopefully you'll find as many nuggets in it that I did. And I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Going For It with James B. Have a great rest of the day and go get in the arena. Make some decisions, make some mistakes, and keep going. Have a great day.